Hey everyone, my name is DJ and this is the Jumbo Commander YouTube channel. March of the Machines is out and the new cards are fantastic, super fun to look at. But today, I want to look at the reprints. There are a ton of cards from the main set and the Commander set that are Commander staples that have gotten cheaper than ever. So if you're looking to pick up great staples for a low price, watch this video. I want to start off strong with two of the most played removal spells in our entire format. It's pretty obvious, Swords to Plowshares and Path to Exile are just good. It's found in the majority of white decks. These are pure staples. Why are they good? Well, number one, they're played a lot, so you're going to see them everywhere, but more importantly, they're instant speed, 1 mana, exile-based removal. And so that just means it fits into a ton of decks. Like, you need to be able to answer relevant creatures. Swords and Path do that. Now about the price. Swords to Plowshares and Path to Exile have been reprinted like crazy. So it's not like this is a one-time thing where you need to grab it now. But Swords to Plowshares is cheaper than ever. Used to be around $1.50 and now it's down to 50 cents. That's a good price right there. Path to Exile is a little bit more expensive. It used to be above $2, around $2.25, and now it's around $1.25. So really great prices right now on two of the most popular cards in our entire format. But that's not the only removal on this list. I want to talk about Murderous Rider. Murderous Rider is 1 black for, well, actually, let's just talk about Swift End. That's what we're focusing on. Swift End is 1 black for an instant adventure. Destroy target creature or planeswalker. You lose 2 life. Now, why is this good? Well, because it is just straight up instant speed removal. I know 3 mana sounds like a lot compared to the 1 mana of Swords and Path, but this is in black, and so you can expect to pay a little bit more. Also, this goes after a planeswalker at instant speed too, which is just really great. And then this is not just a plain old removal spell, a boring, hero's downfall. This has a creature attached to it. So even after you play the important side, the removal side, you have a wonderful zombie knight to hold down the battlefield with lifelink to be able to get you that little bit of extra utility that you kind of want in Commander. Now for the price. This wasn't super expensive, around $1.25, but now that it's down to 20 cents, yeah, this has reached the truly bulk budget level that you can easily slot it in to just about any deck. And this is fantastic removal. So great to see Murderous Rider at this price point. Black has also brought us a very narrow board wipe in the form of Massacre Worm. Massacre Worm is 3 black for a 6/5 Phyrexian Worm. When it enters the battlefield, creatures your opponents control get -2/-2 until end of turn. Whenever a creature an opponent controls dies, that player loses 2 life. Why is Massacre Worm a great fit in Commander decks? Well, if you think about it in terms of a board wipe, it's actually not that good. If you want a board wipe, then you want to make sure that what you kill dies. And 6 mana for -2/-2 is not that, okay? But it's not just a board wipe. Having it be one-sided and take out little creatures and have that life pressure means that it works in a little bit of a different way. It kind of clears out the board a little bit, takes out those chump blockers, deals a bunch of damage, or makes blocks and combat just ridiculous for you. So it's more of a pressure card rather than a board wipe. It's not as reliable damage as, say, Grey Merchant of Asphodel, but it definitely pressures your opponent's boards a lot more. And so I like Massacre Worm in aggressive decks, attacking decks, decks that can utilize that direct damage, can utilize that whenever a creature your opponent controls dies, you lose 2 life. Or if your opponents happen to go wide token strategies, Massacre Worm could just be great for your play group. Okay, now the price point. This was sitting around $4.50, $5, which was, fine. It was a pretty powerful card, but now that it is down to under $1.50, yeah, this can slot into so many different decks. I think it's fantastic. Massacre Worm is a board wipe that takes out little creatures. Let's talk about a different style of board wipe with Elspeth Sun's Champion. 4 white for a foil loyalty planeswalker. Let's go to the main mode on this, which is -3, destroy all creatures power 4 or greater. 6 mana, great selective board wipe, synergizes really well in white decks because we are prone to have some smaller, impactful creatures that can survive on the battlefield, making this a little bit more one-sided. Of course, Elspeth has other modes. Tick up to create 3 1/1 white soldier creature tokens. That's fantastic too. So just in between those two modes of wipe out your big stuff, create an army of small stuff to either chump block or utilize in other ways, means that Elspeth's Sun's Champion is just going to be solid. And its price point has been slashed. This was around $10, $11, and now it's $3.25. Ooh, that is a great budget planeswalker for a really powerful effect. Elspeth is not the only card I'm talking about that creates tokens. I want to talk about Keeper of the Accord. 3 and a white for a creature human soldier. It's a 3/4, and it's got 2 great abilities. At the beginning of each opponent's end step, if that player controls more creatures than you, create a 1/1 white soldier creature token. And at the beginning of each opponent's end step, if that player controls more lands than you, you may search your library for a basic plains card, put it on the battlefield tapped, then shuffle. In many white decks, you will oftentimes have the biggest board, the most creatures. And so you might not generate soldiers all the time, but the ability to get lands onto the battlefield to ramp up to where your opponents are, especially that green deck that's putting tons of lands on the battlefield, Keeper of the Accord is solid. I mean, all it really needs is 1 land on the battlefield, and it's like a really good Solemn Simulacrum. You get 2 lands, and this is one of the best mana ramp spells in white. And I can see this generating value on multiple turns because it triggers on each opponent's end step. You could just 1 round of the table get a land from that opponent, a land from that opponent, maybe a creature from that opponent, and it just gives you tons of value. So value aside, this is why this card should see some play, could be a staple in your deck. But more importantly is this price point. I mean, it was $3 and now it's down to below $1, around 85 cents. Great price. And considering the all-time high of Keeper of the Accord, when this came out originally in Commander Legends, it was $30 at its height. That just lets you know the hype that was behind this card. Granted, it definitely doesn't measure up to that hype, but I definitely think it's a better value than 85 cents. So I think that this is going to be a great role player in a lot of your white decks. What I really want to focus on is Skull Clamp. Turning these 1/1s into cards. That's what we really want. Plus, Skull Clamp is one of the most broken cards that Magic has ever created. And it's been reprinted into oblivion. Since a couple years ago, Commander 2020 on the list, Commander Legends Battle for Baldur's Gate, Warhammer 40k, the Brothers War Commander, a Secret Lair drop, and March of the Machines Commander. Like, that is a huge list of reprints and has been slowly knocking the price down. You'd think with that many reprints, it would be a 20-cent card. But it's not. It's only just barely gone down with each subsequent reprint. It used to be, before all of these reprints, around a $10 card, and then it's just been slowly going down. March of the Machines didn't lower it that much. It was around $5.50, and now it's $4.45. It probably will be reprinted again, but it is so good that if you can slot it into the right deck, like Skull Clamp is well worth that amount of money. It is so powerful. Especially got a bunch of useless 1/1 tokens lying around, Skull Clamp them up and turn them into cards. There's another card in here that's got some great card advantage built in. I want to talk about Tireless Tracker. Tireless Tracker has landfall, you investigate, which is just great. And then when you crack a clue, you get to put a +1/+1 counter on it. So Tireless Tracker sort of becomes more relevant as an attacking threat as you draw your cards. So it just fits beautifully. This was sitting above $5 and now it's below $2. That is fantastic for landfall decks, for +1/+1 counter decks, for token decks, for those green artifact decks out there. But really, Tireless Tracker is just reaching the level of staple and the price where if you don't have one, you can buy one and easily slot it into your decks. Now, of course, it's not just Tireless Tracker. Tireless Tracker brings his friend along, which is Tireless Provisioner. The same mana cost, 2 and a green, 3/2, but this has landfall, create a food or a treasure token. Not gonna lie, a lot of time we're creating treasure tokens. So it's like a better Lotus Cobra. Being able to save up those treasure tokens is incredibly good because it's not just like ramping on that turn. You just make a couple land drops, play a fetch land, suddenly you save up your treasures, and then you can have one big explosive turn. That means that Tireless Provisioner just pays for itself and helps you accelerate into bigger and better things exactly when you need it. It is just so good. Tireless Provisioner has never been super expensive. At its most, it was like a couple dollars. Right now, it is around 50 cents for this copy. And I think that that's a good price, even though it is an uncommon and printed in a commander set. Let's talk about a red card that also gives us some great treasure generation. Not treasure, gold. Curse of Opulence is a 1 mana for a single red or a curse. It enchants a player, and whenever enchanted player is attacked, create a gold token. Each opponent attacking the player does the same. Okay, so Curse of Opulence is a fantastic ramp spell. You put it on someone and then suddenly everyone wants to attack them to get that gold that you want. And then you're generating gold all along the way. So not only are you funneling your opponents at your enemy, you are constantly generating mana advantage in red all along the way. Like, this is just great. Right before March of the Machines, this was sitting around $3.25, mostly because it was reprinted in Commander Legends Battle for Baldur's Gate. Before that, it was a little bit more expensive. It was becoming a fan favorite. Now it's sitting at around $1.25, which is still, I think, fantastic for what it does, because this will change the tempo of a game and really put one single player behind. I like this, especially if you know your playgroup really well, and so you know the person that you need to attack. If you're at a random LGS, people might not like being Curse of Opulence because then seriously, it puts them so far behind the rest of the table, and what it really does is accelerate you like up. It's great. Next thing I want to talk about is the great prices in the Multiverse Legends. These are the reprints that have new treatments that find their way into the set boosters, among which are all 5 of the old school Praetors, and some of them have had their prices slashed. I mean, Elish Norn, which I think is one of the best ones of the original 5, was around $30, but you see the reprinted Multiverse Legends for a really cool black and white version, and it's $15, like just cut in half. Elish Norn can be super powerful, makes all your creatures way more relevant and makes your opponent's creatures just weak or just plain old dead. I think this is the best of the Praetors. Probably the second best would be Shieldred Whispering one. 7 mana for the 6/6 Swamp Walk, and then it makes your opponent's Edict, and then you get to bring something back. This does have to sit on the battlefield and make its way all the way around to your upkeep to be able to get that extra value, but it's just a must answer for many decks. This was sitting at around $15 to $18, and now $5 to $6. So, really powerful price for a really impactful card. The only thing is that usually I like the black and white version, but this one has Shieldred going on it, which is a little bit on the nose for Whispering one. And yeah, I don't know about that art. Moving on to the other ones. The other 3 I'm not as high on because I don't know how they fit into your commander playgroup or commander decks in general. Urbrask the Hidden I actually think is just a great accelerating attacking card. I mean, your creatures having haste is solid. Your opponent's creatures coming in tapped is just great. Although I really think that it hasn't reached the legendary, epic, mythic level of a Praetor. It's not like the over-the-top ability I'm looking for, but it's good. The only problem is that we had this already at around 75 cents from the printing in Commander Legends Battle for Baldur's Gate, so it really didn't slash the price that much at all. At least it gave us a pretty cool black and white version. If we're talking about Jin-Gitaxias, it is a 10-drop. It is a 10-drop that has you losing friends. Did get down to as cheap as $4. Considering that it was $10 or $11 before, that is a great price drop. Just, I don't know. I think you need a very specific deck to run Jin-Gitaxias and a very specific playgroup not to hate you after you reduce their hand size to 0. And then finally, one of the most hated ones is Vorinclex Voice of Hunger. I mean, it's good, don't get me wrong. 8 mana, 7/8, Phyrexian Praetor with Trample. You tap a land for mana, it adds an extra mana. Your opponents tap a mana and it doesn't untap. So it just means anyone that answers this just gets shut down for a subsequent turn. It's just miserable. This card was $15 and now it's down to $5. So huge price reduction. But I'm not sure if I like more people being able to afford Vorinclex. Couldn't it just be that that old card that we just kind of forgot? I just really like it when my mana untaps. I don't like being punished for doing the right thing and taking out the Vornclex. The Multiverse Legends are just fantastic, and there's so many of them. I don't have time to go through and cover them all, but you can go through and find out if any of them fit your decks. I really like Baral, Chief of Compliance. That mana reduction is really solid. You don't have to counter everything and just loot constantly. It can just be a mana reducer. But going from $3.50 down to 60 cents, and with a really good looking version of it too. I'm totally stoked about that. Mostly it's just here for cool art, like the Brutaclad art. I like Atris, Oracle of Half-Truths, but that was already cheap. The Aurelia, the War Leader is fantastic, but definitely man intensive and in a specific type of deck. Firesong and Sunspeaker looking awesome, but that wasn't super expensive to begin with. Like all of the Ikoria cards, all of the companions, that's the style of art that I love. So, I mean, Loris, I am in love with Loris, but again, the price point isn't there. They're about the same price. So I would say go through and find the cards that you really enjoy. I want to give a special shout out to Arixmathy's Slumbering Isle because this was kind of pricey and now it's in the budget realm that I think it needs to be in. Arixmathy's Slumbering Isle is 2 green blue for a legendary creature Kraken. It just says add green blue. So it's a cool mana rock. Just kidding. It enters the battlefield tapped with 5 slumber counters. As long as Arixmathy's has a slumber counter on it, it's a land, it's not a creature. Whenever you cast a spell, you may remove a slumber counter from Arixmathy's, and then it becomes a 12/12 Kraken. It's sleepy and ramps you, and then later on in the game, 12/12, which can be chumped and do all of those things. Man, Arixmathy's is so cool, and it was like $5. This did not deserve to be a $5 card. It's just not good enough. But now that it's a 50-cent card, that huge reduction, $5 to 50 cents is fantastic. And now it's the fun card that you can just put in your deck as a cool, 4 mana ramp that just magically turns into a 12/12 later on, and just awakens the Kraken. Just so great. I also want to give one more shout out, Goreclaw, Terror of Calcisma. Goreclaw is 3 and a green for a 4/3 legendary bear. Creature spells you cast with power 4 or greater cost 2 less to cast. That's a big reduction. So I really like that mana reduction on Goreclaw. But it also has, whenever Goreclaw, Terror of Calcisma attacks, each creature you control with power 4 or greater gets +1/+1 and gains trample until end of turn. So this attacks as a 5/4 trample, including buffing other people on your team, giving trample to those Arixmathyses out there that really need trample. This was also around $4.50 to $5, and now it's 50 cents. So again, the price has gone down to where it really needs to be so this can fit into a bunch of different budget decks. Just looking at all of these cards, I'm seeing tons of them that you can get for 50 cents, $1.50, things like that. Like powerful cards that used to be kind of miserable to pay for now are so affordable. So I love the fact that I can get Premier Removal, ramp. I can get Tireless Tracker and Tireless Provisioner, this card draw ramp combo. I can get Path to Exile. I can get an Elspeth to take out those big creatures. I can get Goreclaw to reduce the cost of my big creatures and make them even more relevant. It's got a little bit of everything. Praetors have become affordable. I think that these are great cards and that you should consider them for your decks. Go ahead and check them out at Cool Stuff Inc. And when you do, use the coupon code JUMBO5. That's going to save you 5% off your order and support the channel at the same time. Thank you, Cool Stuff Inc. Thank you, patrons. Thank you for watching. I'm so glad that so many of these cards have gotten into the budget realm so that we can get more Commander players with these staples in their decks. Fantastic. All right, everyone. Bye-bye.